Good morning, fourth graders. Today in math, I am going to challenge you. You are going to be multiplying a fraction by a whole number. Now, I know we haven't talked about multiplying fractions yet, but we're going to go over a couple of examples, and I'm hoping that when you see how we multiply fractions and a whole number together, you feel a little more comfortable and you realize it's really not that bad. So let's take a look at question number 1 together on the first page. Question number 1 asks you to multiply 5, the whole number 5, times the fraction 1/4. I'm going to use the highlight tool and the model below to shade in the model to show you how I could solve this problem. So if I had the fraction 1/4 and I had it 5 times over, that would mean I would need to shade it in 5 times. So for example, this is 1/4, so that's 1, times 2, times 3, times 4, times 5. So I have 1/4 5 times. That's what I've shaded in. And the answer that I see is I have 1 whole shaded in, and then down here I have 1/4 shaded in. So what I got from my answer of 5 times 1/4 was 1 whole and 1/4. So all I did was I really added 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4. Because when we're multiplying, really, that's just repeated addition. So 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 is equal to 5/4 or 1 and 1/4. All right, let's take a look at question number 4. Question number 4 asks us to write this fraction as the product of a whole number and a unit fraction. Product means we need to write a multiplication problem. If you remember, a unit fraction is a fraction that has 1 as the numerator, 1 on the top. So what we need to do is we need to figure out what whole number can we multiply by a unit fraction that would equal 7/8. This I know is a little bit tricky, but if you take a look at our original fraction that we started with, 7/8, our denominator is going to stay the same. So our unit fraction is just going to be 1/8. That's what our unit fraction will be. Remember, unit is 1 over whatever your denominator is. Now, what whole number could I put in this box so that when I multiply it by 1/8, I would get 7/8? So I'm going to be thinking to myself, how many times do I need to add 1/8 to itself to turn it into 7/8? So here I have 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 would give me a total of 7/8. So I have it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. So 7 times 1/8 would give me 7/8. Let's take a look at the next page. I'm going to show you a different type of problem that you might see, and then I'll let you pause the video and try some of these problems on your own. 5 times 2/5. There's a couple of different ways you could solve this. You could draw a picture like we had done on the first page, or you could use repeated addition, so 2/5 plus itself 5 times. Let me show you what both ways would end up looking like. So if I wanted to do the shade in strategy, I would need a couple of rectangles broken into 5 equal parts. I'm going to use my highlight tool, so I need 2/5 5 times. So that's 1 time, 2 times. This is 1/5 and 2/5, so it's 3 times, 4 times, and 5 times. So when I shade in 2/5 5 times, I get 2 wholes shaded in. If you didn't want to do that strategy, what you could have done instead is you could have just done repeated addition, 2/5 plus 2/5 plus 2/5 plus 2/5 plus 2/5. When you add all of those together, 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2, we get 10, and our bottom number stays the same. So 10/5, which is the same as 2 wholes. So go ahead, pause the video now, Try the rest of these problems on your own, and then come on back and we'll go over the answers together. All right, let's take a look at question number 2 on the first page. It asks us to shade in the fraction below to show 2 times 1/4. So I'm going to shade in 1/4 2 times, which gives me a total of 1/2, or 2/4. Question number 3. Shade in the model below to show 2 times 1/6. So if I have 1/6 once, 1/6 twice, that gives me a total of 2/6. Problem number 5. Write the fraction as the product of a whole number and a unit fraction. So this is the same as the one above that we had done. So I need a whole number times a unit fraction, which is going to be 1 over, I'm going to keep my denominator the same, so 1 over 3. And when I multiply those two numbers together, it needs to turn into 2/3. So 1/3 plus itself how many times is going to give me 2/3? Well, if I add it to itself twice, 1/3 plus 1/3, that would give me 2/3. So if I multiplied it by the whole number 2, that would give me my answer. So 2 times 1/3. Question number 6 asks you to list the next 4 multiples of the unit fraction. So I have 1/5. My next one would be 2/5, 3/5, 4/5, and 5/5. All right, on the bottom, question number 7 wants you to show 1 and 1/4 on your number line. This is kind of like what we had done last week, except now it's a mixed number. So if I have 1 whole, that means all of that will be shaded in, and 1/4 additional on top of that. So 1 and 1/4 on the number line would be right there. All right, on the second page, depending on whichever strategy it was that you chose to use, either drawing the picture or doing repeated addition, for the first one, 3 times 1/4, that's like saying 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4. You're adding it to itself 3 times. You would get the answer of 3/4. 4 times 1/5. 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 would equal a total of 4/5. The next problem is 3 times 2/6. So I'm going to add 2/6 to itself 3 times. So 2 plus 2 plus 2 is going to be 6 over 6, or that also equals 1 whole. The bottom problem, I have 3/8 times 2, so that's like saying 3/8 plus 3/8, which would be a total of 6/8. Top on the next side, I have 2 times 1/3, that's like saying 1/3 plus 1/3, that equals 2/3. The next problem, I have 2/5 times 2, so 2/5 plus 2/5 equals 4/5. In the very bottom problem, I have 2 times 2/4, so that's like saying 2/4 plus 2/4, which equals 4/4, which is the same as saying 1 whole. Now I realize today was challenging. I hope you tried some different strategies to help you solve these problems, even though they're a bit different than what we have been practicing. We're sort of taking it to the next level now. If you have any questions, as always, reach out. I'm happy to go over with these with you one-on-one or show you some different strategies you could have used. And I hope you have a great day.